Have you lost weight only to gain it right back after returning to your routine? Did your diet work for someone else but not you? Rockin' That ID Life helps you understand your genetic makeup to find a lifestyle that fits your needs. Together, you and RockinThatIDLife.com can focus on your health and meet your goals today. That's RockinThatIDLife.com.
Center Ice Brewery is a proud sponsor of Let's Go Blues Radio. If you haven't heard, Center Ice Brewery beer is now exclusively available at beer stores around town, so make sure you pick some up on your next milk and eggs run. That's Center Ice Brewery. Please drink responsibly. Welcome to a special playoff edition of Let's Go Blues Radio. It is Monday, May 16th, 2022, and this is Season 10, Episode 38. And episode 356 all time. We're the often imitated, never duplicated. We're two great tastes that taste great together. Actually, three great tastes that taste great together. We're the original St. Louis Blues hockey podcast, Let's Go Blues Radio. Special thanks to RockinThatIDLife.com and CenterIceBrewery.com for proudly sponsoring the show. Please check them out. We're broadcasting live on YouTube and Facebook right now. So if you heard that, then you know that already. To interact with the show, we're on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Just do a search for us. You'll find us. I'm Kurt Price. My co-host for tonight's big show are DJ Jazzy Bill Day and the fresh Jeff Ponder. And on the agenda tonight, we'll be previewing the second round matchup between the St. Louis Blues and the Colorado Avalanche, among a couple other things. So, gentlemen, have you moved your bowels today?
You have.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Okay. You did that on purpose, right? DJ Jazzy Bill instead of Jazzy Jeff?
Yeah, right.
He had a long time to think about it.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
I could have said DJ Jazzy Jeff and the fresh Bill. That's kind of funny, too.
It would have been perfect.
I threw a curveball. Yeah. Sorry for the late start, guys. If you're listening live, we had some technical issues, some sound issues, which is not uncommon in podcasts today.
Especially with live podcasts.
Yes, live podcasts. I think we have it all worked out. We got Matt Harris and the Meeker in the YouTube chat already. So welcome, gentlemen, or gentle women.
Yeah, I don't know if the Meeker is a guy or a girl. Plus, we can't assume anyone's gender.
Gentle folk.
Yeah.
We're gonna preview the Blues and the Blues and the Avalanche second round matchup in a minute here. But I guess we can do. What are you guys drinking something tonight? You want to say what you're drinking? Put it on the air, Jeff. Jeff's turn. Jeff goes first. Oh, nice.
Drinking a nice frosty Duff beer.
Yeah, it's Duff, baby. Duff Band's getting excited. No, I'm actually sticking with what I drank last show. Because I figure, why change it up? If it's working, don't fix it. God, man, this can is so hard to
Summer
show.
Glare.
Summer Glare, yeah. Summer Lager from Schlafly. Just a good sipping beer. How about you, Bill?
I'm drinking Jeff's shirt.
Arena Lager.
Yeah, he is.
Job.
The old Arena Lager. And I'll tell you this, I'm usually a really big fan of it, but now that I'm drinking Jeff's shirt after he had an all-day hockey tournament on Saturday, not good.
This guy's a champion again, folks.
I think I've got you all beat. I think I do tonight.
Yeah?
Oh!
Play Gloria.
Look at this guy.
Yeah. Little Play Gloria from Sunrise Brewery. Hazy Pale Ale.
Yeah, look at Kurt.
And I forgot my frosty milk. I gotta slum it and drink out of the can.
You
That's what I'm doing
human
tonight.
being.
I thought I had a frozen mug in my freezer down here. I do not.
You guys are trash. You got to drink out of your Duff mug, man, like a real man.
I could drink out of the cup over there in the corner. Just do that.
Yeah, well, I got my cup too. Same. I think it's the same exact model.
Exact same one. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I got this for winning the all-day hockey tournament on Saturday. Team Ponder took it. We had to play in most games I've ever played in one day. I had to play in 7.
That's nuts.
Yeah. Now that we've got 6 teams in these tournaments, if you don't finish first or second and you go all the way to the championship, you get 3 playoff games. First and second place both get buys. But yeah, it was actually kind of funny. The two teams that did not finish first or second that had to basically play into the playoffs. We both met in the championship. So both teams played in 7 games. It was we were all hurting the next day. It was pretty rough.
That's rough. The most I played one day is 3 or 4. I know we've played 3 in the playoffs at Oak Hill. That was fun. But and then in college we had a tournament at Purdue. We had 3 or 4 in one day, and then 2 the next morning. That was rough.
None of those are fun. I mean, they are fun, but at the same time, like you wake up the next day and you're like, "What the fuck did I do yesterday?"
Is the game format the same as the Ponder Cup? Are they shorter games?
Yeah, shorter games, 15-minute periods.
At least there's
running clock.
At least there's that.
Yeah, and we ended up we had to cut some of the intermission time between periods because we usually get 3 minutes in between. We had to cut that down to 1:30 because we were running behind all day.
So where's Austin?
More fun.
Yeah, I think we have our comments of the show.
Fuck Tinder. Visit us and be sure.
Oh, message deleted, message deleted, message deleted. Are you deleting those, Kurt?
Yes.
Oh, I was going to give that my comment of the show.
We got Ken Morris, and Ken made a comment to me on Twitter about the tournament. Jeff, you survived. What a beast of a human specimen, a la Charles Atlas. Again, I will reiterate. He said something about me being in great shape to be able to play in that much hockey. It's not a matter of being in great shape. It's a matter of being in enough shape to where you don't die. And that's basically where I'm at.
That's dedication.
Keith Price asked in the YouTube chat, my brother asked what the Blues all-time playoff record was versus Avalanche. We've played them twice. We played them in 2001, right? And we played them in last year.
So wait, you're looking it up, right?
I don't have to. I mean,
right. I know it, so I'm sure you know it too.
Yeah. We got swept last year, and then we lost in 5 games. Yeah, I was thinking 6 for some reason. That doesn't sound right.
Did they play the Nordiques at all in the playoffs?
Oh no, never. Never. Because they were Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
Or sorry, let me be more specific. They were Wales Conference.
Right. I know it, so I'm sure you know it.
So so we're 1-8.
Bill, did you hear that too?
I did.
You made that face. Yeah.
I did.
Kurt, did you hear that?
The show?
Yeah, there was like a feedback from me from about 10 seconds ago.
Yeah. I had the YouTube thing, the YouTube video up, and I
unmuted
brought
it.
the tab forward and it played. I don't know why it does. It's never done it before.
I was really
Kurt,
confused.
you just sit there and look pretty, okay? This is technical difficulty stuff.
It has been a rough go. Let me try something here. Can you guys hear this? Let me see.
Oh boy. Live testing. You're all our guinea pigs listening right now.
Can you hear this?
Look at you taking care.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we hear that.
Okay. That's interesting. All the tweaking and messing around we do with audio and the mixer before the show, apparently I fixed the issue with playing audio through my computer on the show. Now I can play sound bites, which I couldn't do for a while. I hate this mixer setup.
Well,
I don't know what I did.
Congratulations, we figured it out.
That's great. Okay.
So yeah, Blues all-time playoff record 1-8 against the Avalanche / Nordiques, but hopefully this year we'll see that go to 5-8.
Oh wow, a reverse. I said reverse sweep. They sweep the other way.
So say that really a reverse sweep. It's still
I will settle for 5-11. I will settle for 5-11.
I will settle for 5-11. Yeah, that's. I had to do the math in my head. It took me a minute.
All right, so so game 6 between the Blues and the Wild. Blues won the series 4-2. That was on Thursday. Bennington was in net for the Blues. Talbot in net for the first time for the Wild. Were you guys surprised? We talked about this on the show before about Talbot being in net, and you guys were wanting to go back with Fleury, and I said I go with Talbot, right? And then they did go with Talbot. He didn't look very good, but what do you think of that?
I will say I just actually listened to that portion of the show this morning, trying to find something that one of us said, and Bill did say he would literally be shocked if they went to Talbot in an elimination game. So, Bill, were you actually shocked when you saw the news come out?
Yeah. The only time you make that move is in a non-elimination. When you are not about to be eliminated.
Not an elimination
game. I just sit here and don't talk for a while. The words don't work. So it's a great time to be on a podcast. No, it was the wrong time to make the move. You have to make that move before game 5. If you're going to make a switch, you don't do it when you are in full on desperation mode, or else it smells of desperation. And as we all know, desperation is a stinky cologne.
I agree with you, and I think I said on the show before I would have gone with Talbot in game 5, and they did not. They went with Fleury, and then I said again. I said I would go with Talbot in game 6, only because I said Talbot the game before, and so I was sticking with go back to Talbot just to give the Blues a different look. And I think Berube played it perfectly. He played it. I mean, he changed at the right time, the perfect time.
Yep. And that's the only reason I said Fleury for game 6. I think, Bill, you would agree, because you went to Fleury in game 5. You lost the game. You're not going to put in your other guy in an elimination game. You're going to let Fleury get you there, at least put him in the game to start and give him a short leash. And that just was not the case. It was to me a surprising move.
Well, that's what the Blues did against the Avalanche in 2001. They played Johnson in game 5.
Right, in the elimination game. Right.
Yes.
But he also played a little in game 4.
Right.
He did.
Because Turek gave up 3 goals in 78 seconds. So then they put Johnson in, I want to say, for the rest of that period and maybe one more, and then put Turek back in there for the third period.
Right. Which is just par for the course for the Blues, not being able to figure out goaltending.
Yeah, no kidding.
The Wild got out to a nice start in this game, but with 5 minutes to go in the first period, Nick Leddy. I mean, are we on the same page here with super soft goal that Talbot allowed?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Chris Bray in the YouTube chat said it was a men's league goal, and I think that's one of the best descriptions I've seen of it.
It is perfect.
Yep.
Yeah. That was a bad goal, and it was fairly late in the period. Not a good, and it was all Blues the rest of the way. And they won the game 5-1, won the series 4-2. 2 of the Blues goals on the power play, and so real quick before we get into the Blues and Avalanche, thoughts on the series. I think the better team won the series. I guess we all picked the Blues to win the series, so I assume that you guys nailed it in 6. I said in 5. Kaprizov is good. I think that's if we didn't know it before, we know it now. 7 goals in the series.
And I'll add, Kurt, with you picking 5, I think it very easily could have been 5. The Blues would have not given up a goal in the first, minute of game 3.
Maybe
just seemed to completely derail them that game in game 3. I think had they come out and maybe they get the first goal in that game, first goal won every single game of the series, but I think the Blues come out with a little more vigor, don't give up that goal in the third. Now, granted, if that happens, we don't see Bennington. Maybe even if the Blues go up 2-1 at that point, maybe Husso falls apart. Maybe it's a different story. But I just feel like your pick of 5 really wasn't crazy, because the Blues, they have had Minnesota's number this year, actually, since Berube took over. And they played really well. Bennington played fantastic. And, and then guys were scoring right when they needed to. Tarasenko in game 5 came up huge. Brandon Saad started putting the puck in the net and looking like a a pretty damn good pickup from the summer. Just everything started to click for the Blues later in the series.
The Blues did a fairly good job of limiting Kaprizov, particularly when Blues defenseman Nick Leddy was in the top pair with Colton Parayko. This is from the Athletic article written by Jeremy Rutherford, friend of the show, Jeremy Rutherford. Kaprizov saw 77 minutes and 30 seconds of 5-on-5 ice time in the series. In 23-22 of that time, with Leddy on the ice. Kaprizov, with Leddy on the ice, had no points and just 3 shots on goal. In 47 minutes and 30 seconds without Leddy, who missed games 2 through 4 with a concussion, he had 3 goals, 4 points, and 6 shots on goal. So Leddy providing the Blues with some shutdown defense, not just that puck moving exit defenseman that he was labeled as, and he was labeled as a liability defensively in his own zone, which when we first got him, which is in this series was not the case at all.
Right.
Yeah.
His mobility is his biggest asset, and he used it so well against Kaprizov, who is he's the most water buggish player in the league right now. He can slip through pretty much everybody, but apparently not Nick Leddy.
Well, and I'll add too, you mentioned the mobility. That's part of, I mean, you always hear the old adage, the best defense is a good offense. That's kind of what Leddy did too. When he was out on the ice against Kaprizov, he's such a good player with puck movement, puck possession, that he kept it off Kaprizov's stick. He was one of the guys that really helped that charge of keeping the offense moving, keeping the guys at least getting it to the red line and dumping it in. And just a big important part of that. And again, you're keeping the puck off the offense's stick in Minnesota, you're going to win the series. And that's exactly what the Blues did that whole series when they won the games.
Matt Harris in the YouTube chat says, I'm kind of pissed at how much I've liked having Leddy so far.
Yeah, I mean, it was, Kyle Foxton, I think, tweeted out, imagine having traded for Ben Sherratt over Nick Leddy.
Right.
Because that was, to go back to the trade deadline, that was, everybody who said Sherratt was the number 1 guy on the board.
Right. Well, I think on this show, I think I think Bill, of the 3 of us, I think you were the most happy with getting Leddy. Was that right? You were pretty happy with it. I remember saying I liked it. I thought he would help the team, but I was disappointed that we didn't get that stereotypical big stay-at-home guy that I felt we needed. I think that was a general consensus. Blues fans, although a lot of people didn't like the Leddy pickup at all, they were laughing at
it. Apparently, Matt Harris being one of them.
Yeah. No, I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of the pickup itself either. I thought, well, I'm glad they did something to address the defensive issue. But to me, I was with you, Kurt. I was like, that's not what they needed. They needed the shutdown guy. And so far, he's proven us wrong.
Yeah, the cost that they paid giving up a fan favorite, Sundqvist, and, Jake Wallman, who, was never going to get a shot at top 4 on this team, let's be honest. And it increased his chances of getting that in Detroit, who, will not be a playoff team for some time to come. That was tough to swallow. But I was happy at the time with the trade because we did bring in a defenseman that, he might not have been the big hulking defenseman, but he was a veteran presence. And I think that was the first thing we saw from him was his calming influence and his ability to cover up Parayko gaffes. Hey, our friend's back.
Both. Where's Austin? Okay, I'll take care of this before I'll put you in timeout again.
Even losers fuck girls with us. God, these bots are just getting more and more creative.
Awful. So both Cap Friendly and Dom at the Athletic, not Cap Friendly, Money Puck. Both Money Puck and Dom at the Athletic had models that projected the Wild to win this series rather easily. But I think anybody who actually watched, the games knew that leading up to this, the games between the Wild and the Blues, kind of knew that those advanced stats models were kind of goofy. It did make a lot of sense. I thought the Blues were the better team, but having the Wild favor that heavily in multiple models was kind of strange. And I said before the series that it was a bad matchup for the Wild. I think we all agree with that because the Wild hadn't beaten. They were, the Blues were 3-0-0 versus the Wild this season, and they had coming into the playoffs. They were 12-1-1, I think, in the last 14 games against the Wild since Weber took over. So it's like
very lopsided.
Very lopsided. And the Wild obviously have a hard time playing the Blues, and they have a hard time winning. But they, Dom said that he doesn't factor in head-to-head matchups because it's too small of a sample size. And I said, okay, if you want to take 1, 2, 3 games and say it's too small of a sample size, okay, but there's something there. The Wild just do not match up well against this Blues team. They're having one win in 14 tries. Come on.
Well, and it goes to show you too that they advanced metrics again. All for it. I think it's been a great addition for coaches and even analysts to be able to break down the game better. But at the end of the day, it's an accompaniment to the eye test. And how many times have we said this on the show? You can play the game out on paper and say this is exactly how this series is going to go. 9 times out of 10, it's not going to, because you need to be able to watch the games, see the difference than what you'll see on paper. And I think that's what the Blues proved in the series.
Right. And it's also susceptible, any model is susceptible to creator bias. And, that those decisions, and when I say creator bias, I'm not saying that Dom Lucian hates the Blues. He might, because we totally proved him wrong in 2019. But
somebody said that he has written about his dislike of the Blues. I don't know if that's true or not, but
I think I've seen him say it. I think it's probably because 2019 proved him wrong and he couldn't figure out or he tried to tweak his model for the Blues success, and then the next year it was totally wrong again. I don't know, but when I say creator bias, I mean those decisions you make, right? The decisions you make about not including the head-to-head matchups, right? You're making decisions and excluding certain things in your in the model, and that until we have perfect AI, creator bias is always going to be present.
That's what you get when you try and predict a winner of a series with stats. It's and stats alone, apparently, if you're not even going by head-to-head record. And we're having a series between these two teams, and they're going to play each other, but we're not going to take into consideration at all the previous games where they played each other. Well, I don't get that.
Yeah, that seems very silly to me.
It shouldn't matter. They're playing each other again. If a team can't beat another team, you would think that maybe that would play into your model and say, okay, well, they can't beat this team, having problems. We'll factor that in. Anyway, on the other side of this break, well, we have to take a break. So on the other side of that, we'll preview the round 2 matchup between the St. Louis Blues and the Colorado Avalanche right after a word from rockinthatidlife.com.
It's springtime, and I know in my house, it's such a good feeling to open up the windows and let the breeze roll in for new life in my home. Your body's no different. Detoxifying your body can reduce any inflammation, purify your blood, help with weight loss, improve sleep, and boost your circulation. Don't just go after those detoxifiers that only focus on the gut and bowel, though. If you're going to do it for real. The all-new Detox Box from rockinthatidlife.com cleans all your systems, flushing your kidneys and bowels, detoxifying your liver, and restoring your microbiome for full homeostasis. You'll feel re-energized, restored, and renewed. Make your order now and receive a free detox water bottle with your order. Visit rockinthatidlife.com or email Dustin at rockinthatidlife@gmail.com and tell him Let's Go Blues Radio sent you to receive an additional 10% off your order. That's rockinthatidlife.com, and give your body that much-needed spring cleaning today.
So it's a rematch from round 1 last season when the Colorado Avalanche dominated the St. Louis Blues and swept them out of the playoffs. Goaltending, Binnington figures to be the guy in net for the Blues. How quickly things have changed since the most of the second half of the season and how the playoffs started this season, right? Husso was the guy, but now it's Binnington pretty much solidly in net. So it's crazy how that works.
I mean, that could change this series just like it did last time. But I do look at this and I don't know. I don't want to say that I wished any ill on Huso because I did not. But that might be how this sounds. I did tell my wife. I said if the Blues win the series against Minnesota, I truly believe Binnington will win his crease back. He's going to win the crease back, and he's going to lead them through the first round. And not saying I called it because that was just kind of a guess, but obviously it was right. He stepped in, he played big when the Blues needed him to. Nothing against Huso. I think he played fine, even in the Game 3 loss. It was just Bennington stepped in and took control of the series. One, his ability to play the puck behind the net was huge, keep the play going, something Minnesota wasn't getting from Fleury or Talbot in Game 6. And then just ability to react and cover the puck was big too. That was something we saw him struggle with, I think, this season and maybe even a little bit last season, was his rebound control. He was fantastic this past series, covering the puck and not giving Minnesota those second chances. And if he can do the same thing to Colorado, this will be a much closer series than people are predicting.
Jordan Binnington played in all 3 games versus the Avs this season, had a 1-2-0 record with a GAA of 3.78 and a save percentage of .897. His numbers versus
Minnesota.
Minnesota in round 1. 3-0, 9-4. What happened? Nashville. His numbers versus Minnesota in round 1. 3-0, 9.43 save percentage of .167. Goals against average, and a 2.6 goals saved above average, which is
great.
Good. It's really good. Yeah. In comparison, go ahead, Bill.
I was going to say we got distracted with all the technical difficulties, but I was going to ask you before we got on here to clarify that if that was Kemper against Minnesota or against Nashville or Binnington against Minnesota.
Kemper. Yeah, I knew that was Binnington because Kemper was 4-0.
Kemper he was 3 games started. He was 2-0.
Yeah, because he was out with an eye injury in the one game.
That's right. I forgot about that. Good call.
He only got credit for 2 wins. So and his in comparison, his stats were 2-0, 9.34 save percentage, and 1.63 goals against average, and a 1.3 goals saved above average, which is good, but not as good as Binnington. So Binnington's, very good numbers across the board for both goalies in the first round. Binnington a tick better, but we'll see. We'll see how that pans out.
And let's add again. How many times did we say last season? This season, Binnington was the only worthy opponent the Avalanche faced on the ice last year. And just think if he would have gotten some offensive output, some better defensive help, how that series would have gone. You got to think the Blues are going to have a much better effort this time around, and hope that Binnington can emulate the same way he played last year.
Yeah, just the start of that series last year with Bortuzzo being boarded by Nichushkin, I think it was, and injured, no call. It didn't bode well for the Blues. Or was that the year before? I can't keep the year straight anymore. But what I recall from last year's series is that Binnington was the only consistent performer. He would stand on his head and give up, make 4 or 5 saves, and they'd score on the 6th shot. And the offense was just completely drained. It seemed like, O'Reilly just could never find his legs in that series. So I'm hoping that with, the success that we found later in the, this first round, they're going to have a better jumping off point rather than just getting destroyed.
I think too, with the way that the season was structured last year with only playing within your division because of COVID, every game pretty much was a playoff game down the stretch. And the Blues were on the outside looking in going into April, I believe, and they had to play their way into the playoffs. So they had to battle. They were already playing playoff hockey in March and April. And not that they weren't doing that this year, but it was like instantly, okay, regular season over, jump into the playoffs against the number 1 seed. Let's see what you can do. This time, not saying Minnesota was easy, because it wasn't. It was a very hard-fought series, but they get a little break here. They got some injuries. Hopefully, some of these guys will start healing up, which I know we're going to talk about in a second. But they haven't had to me, they didn't have to play as hard. They knew they were in the playoffs pretty early on in April. They just had to basically go 500 and they were going to make it. It wasn't we've got to fucking win out, boys. Otherwise, we may not make the playoffs. So I think they're going in with a little bit more jump this year than they maybe had last year, which should hopefully play to their advantage.
And we have a healthy Perron this year, and we have Falk, who we lost in game 2, late in game 2 last season.
Well, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. We have to survive the first period with Landeskog and Kadri probably coming out to injure people.
Yep.
I'm just saying, with Perron and Falk and a deeper, much deeper group of Blues forwards, 9, 20 goal scorers, that's a nice feather I kept to have. And I think with the defense, with Leddy, and a really nice addition with Perunovic to help replace Krug on the power play. I'm not sure how many teams could replace a guy like Krug, but on the power play. But Blues kind of have. I mean, Perunovic is a guy who will distribute the puck just about as well as Krug. He doesn't shoot quite as much, but still, Krug is a very good power play quarterback. And Perunovic is exactly that as well. That's his bread and butter. So
I dare to say that Perunovic is maybe slightly better already on the power play quarterbacking, but if that's his only role, he had some really good defensive plays in that first round too. The one thing I worry about with the way the Blues were able to roll with 7 defensemen in the first round, 7 defensemen and only 11 forwards, it's going to be a long series against Colorado, and unless you're going to roll that 7th defenseman on the wing like the Blues didn't in that first round, I don't think especially with Colorado, the first 2 games being in Colorado, I don't think you want to put Tarasenko out there for 6 extra shifts a period. It's going to be too much wear and tear. So I would be shocked if the Blues they might start in game 1 with it, but I don't think they can really use that the entire series.
Well, I maybe it depends on how healthy Leddy really is. I mean, in case they lose a defenseman, how healthy Bortuzzo really is after taking the puck to the head. If they feel like, well, they can play, but they're a solid hit away from coming out again, then maybe they go. I mean, I don't know.
Another option is that let's just say that they decide they want to go with 7 defensemen. Third period comes up, forwards are looking a little okay. We can't be playing, like you said, Tarasenko an extra 6 shifts a period in this third period. We got a 1-goal lead, whatever. Maybe you start putting Perunovic on the wing to try and alleviate some of that.
Yeah, and
say, hey, just go skate 2 shifts out there on wing this period and give our guys a little bit of a break.
Right. Don't get too far out of position. Be fine. And they didn't try that at all in the last round, and I was a little bit surprised by that. Definitely don't think given the altitude in Colorado and how much more difficult and taxing that can be, that they try that for the entire series. But who knows? Berube has proven us wrong many, many times.
Kemper is rumored to have mostly or fully recovered from his eye injury versus Nashville, where the stick blade went into his mask, injured his eye, or around his eye. But they say the swelling is mostly gone down, and he should be ready to play. Kemper addressed in all 3 meetings versus the Blues this season, posting a 2-1-0 record, GAA of 3.4, and a save percentage of .870. No, not good numbers. So I'm not saying this to cause injury, but if maybe his eye's not 100%, where are you putting the puck? If I'm the Blues, I'm saying shoot it around his head. Put it right under the bar if you can, because like if his eye's not feeling 100%, maybe he's not seeing it as it's coming at him right at his face. Bill, what would you say, Bill, as far if a goalie is having I don't know, maybe a blurred vision issue or something. Where's the puck hardest to pick up? Is it a high, low? Does it vary?
I mean, it varies. It depends on the eye thing. If a goalie has blurred vision, he shouldn't be in net. I mean, that's just. I mean, I think that's a plain and simple fact. I think if there's an eye problem, it's going to exacerbate any issues. So you want to stick with the book, maybe even a little more solidly. If you have a book on a guy, like say it was UC Saros and the Blues were going in there, like I would not change a damn thing. We've had so much good success. So if they know where to shoot on him, just shoot there every time and see how good he is. And that'll get you tell you how good his eyesight is pretty quickly if you're consistent with that. And two, that's your best chance of scoring. So do it.
That's a good point, because if you shoot where a goalie is most susceptible, then you would think he'd be more susceptible if his vision has been affected. So that's a kind of an obvious take, but I didn't really think about it that way.
No, I mean, this is why we have a goalie on the panel. Because that is something, honestly, as dumb as it sounds, like something I didn't even think about either. As a shooter, my thought is shoot it at his eye. But Bill makes a good point. It's basically like if his weakness becomes an even greater weakness, then exploit that weakness even more.
Well, that's what Sammy Blake might have done on his breakaway against Bishop. After Bishop was hitting the collar, he comes in a breakaway just a couple minutes later and takes a slap shot on a breakaway. So Bishop might be kind of pulling up a little bit, right? Expecting to protect his head or his neck, and it goes low.
Totally different situation, right? Parayko clearly had broken Bishop at that point. So you scare the fuck out of him. Like if a goalie is nursing an injury and trying to play through it like that, you want to scare the hell out of him and wind up for the big clapper. And still, Sammy Blais is a Blues legend and always will be, just for that.
Yeah,
that's not, that whole thing is not even it's a unique idea. Bobby Hull talked about doing that on the Brett Hull's VHS tape back in the day, that Hockey's Top Gun or whatever it was called. Bobby Hull talked about doing that. I think it was. He took a slap shot and rung it up, off the guy's mask or up his shoulder, and the next one you wind up and you lay it on the ice, and he's like pulling up a bit, and you got that room down low. That's like that's always been a strategy. So Sammy Blais,
it's cool with it. Right. It is a reflexive action, unless you're somebody like Roman Czechmanek or Dominik Hasek that wants to play the puck off their face. That is a reflexive action. Every time I got rung in the bell, somebody come in, anybody on the opposing team comes in, or even, in a practice against my own team, because that used to happen all the time. I would always, shrug the shoulders up like, here it comes.
Yeah, did you do that whenever you were standing on the bench in pregame too, and some idiot would take a clapper at you?
He was sitting on the bench.
No, right, and I had no idea somebody would be that silly to do that.
I always did that for some reason. I stopped doing it after that time though.
But not while I was sitting there.
I always took wrist shots at the half wall. I always did.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I mean, it's you have to, focus your aim a little better, and you obviously didn't then.
It was not a good idea. I admit that fully. It's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
I like Derek. Oh, go ahead, Bill.
I was just gonna say, and like you said, Ponder, you're gonna go for the head every time. I think that mentality gets to be endemic amongst forwards, especially, right? I'm just gonna shoot. I think there's something about wanting to shoot at a goalie's head that gets the forwards.
Well, I can tell you, being a forward myself, the prettiest goals are scored up top shelf, so that's why you go high.
Well, and
you want to knock the water bottle off.
I did hear this once, that this was something in the NHL that has been a discussion before, because it is definitely a discussion in beer leagues. You hit a goalie between the eyes, that's a free beer from your teammates. And I have heard that NHL players at least make that joke too.
Because the next guy gets to score a goal down low. That's why.
Right. So a couple comments about this that well, Derek says goalies kind of need their eyes. Yeah, 100%. But here is your comment of the show, at least for me. Matt Harris says, "I say we get Kemper with the classic vaudeville eye poke, a la the Three Stooges." How hilarious would that be to see, like I don't know, Robert Bortuzzo skate up to him, take his glove off, and just poke right between the eyes? That would be
Very nice.
fantastic.
Yeah. I do kind of like Matt Moe. I like his idea. Would have picked up Subban at the trade deadline and not dressed him until he played Colorado so he could pull the old Slubinator on him.
I would have loved that.
Craig Berube said that Troy Krug, who was injured in Game 3 of the first round, would be out for, quote, some time. And there's no update on his injury, but it sounds like he'll be out for quite a while. I guess you never know in the playoffs because you get next to no information on injuries. But the phrasing there makes me seem like it'll be out for weeks instead of days. When Ruby goes for some time, that has to mean weeks. It can't mean days. Has to.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
I mean,
Right. When I heard it, I thought, Berube doesn't expect to have him the balance of the playoffs.
Yeah, because it's a knee, right? And it looked bad.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
okay.
I could see
like that.
I could see maybe this goes a long series, maybe by Game 7, but at that point, do you risk it? Do you even risk putting him out there and then maybe him re-injuring it and being out next season? So
I mean, that's it's a nasty. I mentioned earlier it's a nasty blow for a lot of teams, but we do have a guy we can plug in to fill his shoes. So it's
the only thing that you're missing defensively from Krug. Not that he's not good defensively, but he does bring that energy with some of the big hits he can throw.
Sure.
So you kind of miss that, but at the same time, Braden Shen has been playing out of his mind this playoff with his ability to come in and hit people and piss off other teams and fan bases. So
dirty player.
Dirty. He deserved at least 17 suspensions in that first round.
Yeah. Suspend him for at least 5 suspensions. At least 5 suspensions.
At least. Yeah.
Give him all the suspensions. He was Oglethorpe.
Injuries for the series. Colorado is fully healthy, according to what they say anyway. Heading into the second round, the Blues will likely be without Troy Krug. Definitely, probably. Scandella's been skating and practicing with the team, so who knows if he'll be dressed or not. Some first round stats. Colorado had their way with Nashville, and I saw these stats posted on I think it was TSN or somewhere. I don't even know why I have this in here because it doesn't really apply. It doesn't matter how the Blues did against Wild and how Colorado did against Nashville. The different teams, different series. Colorado scored average 5.3 goals per game. Blues average 3.7 goals against per game. Colorado 2.3. Blues 2.7. But although Colorado did allow 44 shots on goal average against Nashville. That's a lot to average against.
Well, you got to figure that one of those was a double overtime game.
That's true.
And I think they had like 58 or 60 shots. So that's going to bring that up a little bit. But yeah, that's still very high for a good defensive team like Colorado.
While we're on that subject real quick, I don't, we're not going to do rapid fire tidbits on this one, but how good was Jake Ottinger last night?
Oh my God.
I think that was the best goaltending performance since Bennington. And
that was so good.
The only other away goalie or non-Blues goalie that I've been that excited to watch in a playoff game was Jaguar back in his run in 2003. He was so damn good.
Ottinger had Goudreau's number until he finally scored.
Until he shot from the corner.
That's why I purposely did not pick Gaudreau for the Butchie overtime challenge because I'm like, that dude's got like 8 shots this game and he can't fucking beat Ottinger.
And that shot,
got his number.
The shot he did beat him with, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
He had a shot had to be absolutely perfect. And just before that, there was that scramble, post to post. Oh my God.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
That was a fun.
That one where he dropped his stick and then still came across. I don't know if that's the same one you're talking about, but oh man, that was ridiculous.
And I haven't seen a goalie make that many toe saves in a game since probably, I don't know, Grant Fuhr in the 80s with a kick save.
Calgary to go to the West. Actually, we'll go for the West to the Stanley Cup final. But I found myself, and I know that people are not going to like hearing this because they're a Central team. I found myself rooting for the Stars because I was like, "Go Ottinger, baby!"
I was rooting for Ottinger.
Yeah,
I was after seeing Ottinger play, I'm like, wow, I just want this to keep going. It was that overtime was back and forth and chances galore, both ends. That wasn't your typical overtime. That was like both teams are just going for it, balls to the wall. It was nuts.
Ottinger is a hell of a goalie. I'm looking forward to seeing his rest of his career because he looked great. He looked great that whole series.
Yeah. Well, I was rooting for Calgary because I picked them, but also I wanted to see the Battle of Alberta too. I wanted to see them.
For sure,
of course,
for sure. Yeah, that's never disappoints. But yeah, just such an amazing performance by Ottinger, and Jamie Benn couldn't do anything to help him out last night, I guess, and at the end of the game. But
so the Blues and the Avalanche, the Blues record this season was 49, 22, and 11. Colorado finished 56, 19, and 7. Only 3 more regulation losses for the Blues. So that's something to look at. Home record for the Avalanche, they had a fantastic home record, 32, 5, and 4. And the Blues away record, 23, 12, and 6. Pretty good away record, but it's going to be, I mean, if Colorado's playing the playoffs at home is any reflection of how they played in the regular season, they are going to be tough to beat at home.
Yep, but I will say again something that I've said about this team for 3 years, and I know Avalanche fans are getting pissy with me on Twitter about it. Show me you can make it past the second round.
Right.
I know that the argument that I keep hearing is 3 years ago they were not a cup favorite, so you shouldn't take that into account. Okay, I disagree, but whatever. When you've done it 3 years in a row and you basically stink in the second round, you've got to prove to me. And I know, again, and that's the other argument, 2 years ago, they went with Michael Hutchinson in goal because the other goalies got hurt. Okay, excuses to me. At some point, this team has to step up and prove that they can make at least the conference final. And they haven't done that since the Joe Sakic years. So, to me, yes, they are the favorite, and I'm not underselling that at all. I do fully expect the Avalanche to win this series. But I don't think it's I don't think it's completely insane to think the Blues could pull this one out, because the Avalanche have proven before that they have not done well in the second round against whoever their opponent is.
The last time the Avalanche went to the third round, they got out of the second round, the NHL had their old logo, the black and orange logo. And the last time they went to the third round was when they played the Blues. It was 20 years ago.
Yeah, I was going to say 2 lockouts ago.
It's been 20 years since Colorado made it farther than the second round. It's been a long time. And so, and especially recently when they've had some really good teams here the past couple of years, 50 years, and they have choked, whatever we want to call it. They haven't gotten the job done. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes, because and the Avalanche have had the Blues number. I mean, the last 3 seasons against the Blues, we talk about the Blues owning the Wild. Avalanche are 14-6-0 against the Blues the last 3 seasons. So I mean that's pretty dominant. Last 10 games overall this season, Avalanche 5-4-1, Blues 6-4-0.
How about with that head-to-head record? The last 3 seasons, no overtime games.
Yeah,
that's kind of crazy. So you can basically expect that games will be wrapped up in regulation here, right?
Or knowing the playoffs are, every game goes to playoffs.
Yeah, that's true.
So head to head, this season, Avalanche have won 2 out of 3. The Blues won the first game early in the season, 5-3, and then just a couple weeks later, the Avalanche beat the Blues 4-3, and then they didn't play again until April. And if you remember correctly, the Avalanche started off the season kind of poor. this season, and they went on an absolute tear because they didn't play a lot of games, and then they they didn't play a lot of games, and then they just went on an absolute tear. So and then the last game was April 26th, and they were 5-3 winners versus the Blues. So they won 2 out of 3 versus the Blues this season. Colorado scored 12 goals against the Blues this season, and the St. Louis Blues have scored 11 versus the Avs this season. So goals for, goals against, pretty even in the 3 games. So we will get into the series probability models from Dom at The Athletic, and we'll also mention Money Puck too, and talk about who it favors and by how much on the other side of this break. So go grab a beer, go move your bowels while we hear from Center Ice Brewery. Do you like hockey? No, of course you do. Do you like beer? Of course you do. Are you 21? Let's hope so. If you answered yes to all of those questions, run on down to your local beer distributor and pick up a 2-4 of Old Arena Lager, the Beauty IPA, or any other delicious hockey-themed beer from Center Ice Brewery. That's right, Center Ice Brewery beer is available at various beer stores around town, so check around for the one closest to you. That's Center Ice Brewery. Let's go Blues! Derek says in the YouTube chat that apparently Gretzky's bracket has the Blues and the Canes in the finals, with the Canes winning. How about that?
Whoa. I would love that. That'd be a hell of a series.
Yeah. Okay, so the series prediction from Dom at The Athletic. He predicted the Blues to lose handily. We mentioned earlier to the Wild. It was like 75-25, I think it was. 75 favoring the Wild. So here he has the Wild at 85% to win the series and the Blues at 15% to win. So and for the series to get done in 4 games, it's a 21% chance for the Avalanche. 5 games, 29%. 6 games, 20%, and 7 games, 15%. The Blues are at a paltry 1% to sweep the series, 3% to win in 5 games, 5% to win in 6 games, and 6% to win in 7 games.
I've said before, I don't like picking sweeps. I just think even with, people were picking the Lightning to pick to sweep the Blue Jackets 3 years ago. And guess what? It was, as Kurt would say, it was a reverse sweep. The Blue Jackets took that one in a sweep. So to me, like, to say that the Avalanche have a 21% chance to sweep the series, that seems insanely high to me. I just think any series to me, it should never be that high to protect a sweep, unless it's like literally all 32 teams make it and one is facing 32. Okay, yeah, 21% chance for that, sure. Anything else, no way.
Dom said that last year's Blues team is better than this year's Blues team is better than last year's Blues team, but the probability remains about the same because the Avs are better than last year's team as well. So, but I'll agree with that. Avs are better, Blues are better. But last year's Avs team had a better win percentage than this year's. So you think of this year's Avs team as being better, but last year they had a better winning percentage. I mean, there's fewer games played, but still.
Well, and if you ask Alex Ferrario, I mean, it doesn't make sense that the Avalanche are better this year, right? Because they've lost so many guys.
Yeah.
We're not going to factor in who they've gotten since and who's had career years, but they lost Saad and last year's Grubauer. Yeah. For those that haven't seen it, that's a tweet from Mr. Alex Ferrario that is just tone deaf beyond belief.
he got roasted for it, and he should have.
And he definitely should have.
Yeah. That's kind of par for the course with that afternoon.
That's St. Louis hockey talk right there for you.
I mean, so much of it is just bad. So I mean, I'm not sure where he's getting that his stances there, but anyway, they're a better team on paper, but that didn't translate onto the ice this season necessarily. If you go by win percentage, Dom's model last year for the Blues and the Avs had the Avs at 88% to win, Blues at 12, and at 24% sweep chance, and it happened. So, Money Puck
of course, I say sweeps are hard to predict, and there it's a pretty good prediction there in a way, but to me, I just don't think we'll see that again, especially to see a team sweeping up the same team 2 years in a row. I just don't see that happening.
That never happens to the Blues ever.
Yeah,
first 3 years in the league, it's swept out.
Yeah, right.
0-12. But yeah, so Money Puck has the Avs at 70.4% favorites and the Blues at 29.6. I think that's a little closer to reality. Thinking maybe 65-35, something like that is maybe a better indication of how this series might go, in my opinion. This series, the Blues only had 3 more. I mentioned that 3 more regulation losses in Colorado. And let's see, the last time we talked about that already, I jumped ahead. Last time the Avalanche made it out of the second round was 20 years ago. So what do the Blues have to do to win this series, guys? The odds are stacked against them. No models like them. Nobody's going to pick them, well, except for Gretzky. What do the Blues have to do to win this series? Give me a few steps.
Well, something that happened last year needs to happen again. Jordan Binnington needs to play some lights out hockey. Might even have to play his best hockey he's ever played in the NHL, even being more so than against Boston or Dallas or whoever from 2019. And you're going to have some stronger D as well. I think the Blues played very well against Minnesota, but there was some times where they let Kaprizov. I don't want to say let, but you basically find a way to control a guy like Kaprizov. Lucky for the Blues, he was the only one who was just kind of trying to take over the series from their offense. Colorado has a couple guys like that. McKinnon, that whole first line that everyone complains about. Plus, again, Kadri having another a career year for him. Nichushkin seemed to have found his strides in NHL forward. There's a lot of weapons that Colorado can throw at you, not to mention Cale Makar from the blue line. So the Blues are going to have to play some really sound defensive hockey, and they're going to have to get some timely scoring. I think when the Blues lost the 2 games against Minnesota, that was one big problem, was we kept waiting for that big goal that we know this team can score. And it just wasn't happening. And it wasn't until game 3 or game 4 when they kind of started to explode. I'm sorry, it was game 4 when we started seeing them finally put up some timely goals. And then game 5, obviously Tarasenko took it over in the third. You're going to have to see more of that. You're going to have to see this offense breaking through. When one line is shut down, the next line needs to come out and make a big play and do something huge. The Blues are going to need to counter really quickly, too. So if Colorado scores 1 or 2 quick goals, the Blues are going to have to find a way to counter that and score another one and keep the games close to have a chance at maybe taking a lead in the third period or whatever. But there's a lot of factors that have to go into the Blues winning the series.
Go ahead, Bill.
I was going to say, I think one of the biggest keys for the Blues is going to be to get a split in Colorado. I think they got to come out in game 1 and try and jump on them. Don't play overly aggressive. You gotta test the rust versus rest thing, right? Colorado swept. They've been off quite a while. Blues went 6. They've had a good 5 days off now. It'll be 5 between games. That's great. Colorado may have some rust. I'm sure, McKinnon's doing his best to make everybody eat kale and be ready. But I think game 1, if you can get out to an early lead and then play sound defensive hockey, you got to do it. Hopefully avoid injuries. I think that's going to be another key. We saw what happened with injuries. Not that you can really, avoid it. If something's going to happen, something's going to happen. But if we can stay healthy and keep, especially our defensive core, not be depleted any further, don't lose a Letty, don't lose a Falk. I think those are going to be absolute necessary things for the Blues to have a fighting chance in this series.
I think we need to utilize our depth. I mean, as good as Colorado is, and they're pretty deep, we are deeper scoring wise as far as 20 goal scorers go. You could take an arbitrary number. They have more 30 goal scorers than we do. But 9 20 goal scorers, your top 9 have all potted 20 or more this season. That is a really big deal, and you need to use that, take advantage of that in the playoffs. We didn't do that in the first round to the extent that we probably could have or should have against Minnesota. And I think that's going to be key if we can get secondary scoring. The special teams are going to be key. They were key in the first round against Minnesota. They're going to be probably more key in this series because Colorado's PK isn't great. They were in the middle of the pack this season, 15th, 79.7% PK, and our power play was, everybody knows, was second best overall at 27%, and it was at 30% in the first round versus Minnesota. So they need to maintain that or better against Colorado. The Blues PK is 84.1%, and Colorado's power play is pretty good, 24%, which was 7th overall. So with Krug out, Perunovic will be a key guy quarterbacking the power play when he's out there. Looked good on the power play versus Minnesota with 3 points in 3 games. So I think that the special teams are going to be important. It's an advantage. I don't think the Blues have a lot of advantages on paper in this series that people come out and say, but that's one of them. And they need to come out and take advantage of it. And you guys mentioned the D playing well. They got to play over their heads. You can't have the breakdowns. You can't have the missed assignments. You can't have the lazy plays, not taking the body, no stick on stick, get sticks in lanes, get sticks on pucks, neutralize their speed. They're going to come into the zone with speed. Colorado's a fast team. They love to take advantage of odd man rushes, limit those, but they're going to get their chances, right? They're a really good team. They're going to get their chances. And then you got to limit second chances and third chances after the initial shot. So that relies on the D. Forward's got to back check. You got the left winger. It's got to play McCarr. You got to stay between him, McCarr and the goal, whoever's out there against him. So and there's so many things. We could break this down forever.
And I'll add too that you mentioned the special teams. You cannot give Colorado a power play for one, and two, the other big thing to me is, and you mentioned the rushes. You got to control the puck, and I know that's much easier said than done, and that's as easy of a breakdown as you can give. But the minute you turn that puck over in the offensive zone, Colorado was flying the other way. If you're going to have a chance where you think you might turn it over, just get it deep, and that way it gives you guys enough time to get back and cover for their big, strong forwards that are going to skate through that neutral zone. So the key to me is if you're going to have a turnover, play it smart. Just try and do your best to get it deep and not allow one of those odd man rushes.
I think offense from the defense was not as much of a factor in the first round against Minnesota as we liked. I think we had 1 goal from the defense.
Yeah, so great goal from Nick Leddy.
Yeah, our defense did very well this season in goals scored. So the contributions from the defense that you get is just it's extra boost. On goals that you don't expect to get necessarily, and you get goals in defense because Colorado is going to get their chances, and McCarr might be putting some goals in the series. So to counter that, we've got some guys who can score on the defense, and hey, how about this for a key to the series? Parayko hit the net. That'd be nice.
Yes,
and I think Binnington has to be great. He can't be good. He's got to be great. And you said, Jeff, right, he may have to play the best series he's ever played. We've seen him play at an elite level. He needs to be elite because you could do all these things, but that we've mentioned it before. But Colorado is so good; they're going to get their chances. And if Bennington's not great, I don't know how you win this series with average goaltending.
And let's put it like this: I thought he was great last year, and they were swept. Yeah. Right. So he's going to have to play elite and get more from his teammates in order for them to win this series.
I think if he plays like he did last year, I think, and we get contributions and we do a lot of the things that we've been talking about, I think that puts us in the mix to have a chance to win the series. But there's a lot of pieces that have to come together. And can it be done? Sure. I mean, absolutely. I mean, there have been bigger upsets. If the Blues do win the series, you're going to hear a lot of people saying this is one of the biggest upsets. No, it's not. I mean, it'd be an upset, yes, obviously, but it's not going to be the sheer monumental upset that a lot are going to make it out to be.
Yeah, it's not going to be, again, Blue Jackets over Lightning in a sweep.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to be like that. Because you look at the points overall, and again, I hate to just look at statistics, but the Blues weren't that far behind Colorado to close out the season. You know, I know that Blues fans, we talked about it in March, saying, you know, oh, why even do anything because they're just going to lose in the second round of Colorado. Well,
I hate that.
it's ridiculous. I agree, 100%. But, you know, I think that coming into this series, you know, you look at it in a nutshell and you say, Blues weren't that far behind Colorado in points. Yes, Colorado's the heavy favorite, and I get that 100%. But Blues win this series, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, that's the biggest upset in sports. Like, to me, it'll be like, yeah, that was huge. Great for the Blues. Awesome. Can't wait to see what to do the rest of the playoffs. But it's not mind-blowing that they were to beat the Avalanche.
It would be great vindication,
yes.
but not a surprise.
I could not agree with you more, Bill, on splitting in Colorado. You win that first game or the second, doesn't matter. You just split, win your home games. I mean, that's what you got to do, right? So going down 2-0 against or 0-2 against Colorado, losing both their games in the arena, then that forces you to win both your home games, and then to avoid going down in the series, you got to win 3 in a row. So that's a tall order. So it was getting a split. Just do that. That's all you got to do.
I could see them. I could honestly see the Blues jumping out on them early in game one. I could see basically same thing that we saw in the first round. If the Blues are going to win in Colorado in the first 2 games, I think it'll be game 1 because the Blues are going to come out with that tenacity. They're going to forecheck. They're going to try to disrupt that defense from breaking out of the zone. So they're going to try and get on them early, and if they can score early, I could see them trying to hold that lead for a while. And again, not giving Colorado a power play and frustrating the Avalanche like we saw with Minnesota, and then them coming out and winning that game. So if it's going to happen, I could see it being game 1, and that would be quite the nice feeling to walk out of game 1 with the Blues 1-0 series lead.
And what do you guys think? Having Brandon Saad on this team this year, and he was an Avalanche player last year, do you think that is any advantage for the Blues to say, they go into a period, right? They go into a period or an intermission after having, frustrated McKinnon or Makar, and what is Bednar going to go in there and say? Is there an advantage there? I think that would be awesome if to hear an interview where they talk about players who have that ability. Hopefully Saad's that guy, but that could be just a complete underrated X factor in this series, knowing how the other team tends to react in the locker room.
It's almost like having a player from another like baseball team that knows the tendencies of a catcher, for example, knows the tendencies of pitchers on the other team. The strategies involved there. So it's almost like having a little fly on the wall, almost.
Yep. I wonder. Well, the one thing that Saad won't be able to provide is goaltending. He doesn't know. He knows just as much as the Blues do about Kemper, but you have to hope the scouts have done their jobs and can tell the Blue, the video coaches and everybody can. Hey, here's how you beat this guy, especially right now with his eye problem.
So predictions. Who wins the series? I hate doing predictions, but everybody does them, so I guess we got to, right?
We have to. We're in Blues. We're in Blues new. Is it still called New Media? I feel like there should be a new name for that.
Podcast? No, not new. We're
podcast
10 years.
media. We call it podcast media. yeah, I mean, it is something that people just they expect it. We have to give the people what they want, Kurt. That's just how it works. Just like when I'll go shirtless in our next show, you have to give people what they want.
Hmm.
Maybe not.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we'll give ours, and if you guys in the YouTube chat want to just rattle off what you think too, and we'll. I know a few said it, but
yeah. Before we get to it, I do want to. There's a couple really good comments in here. Ken Morris says shut down Nate McKinnon and Kale. Derek says I could see. What's that?
Easier said than done.
Yeah, much easier said than done. Derek says I can see the Blues winning, but score less goals than the Avs in total over the series. That's what happened with Boston, right? Because Boston had a couple blowout wins.
Yeah, blowout. Yeah, and I think when we almost beat Detroit in '97, the double overtime with Eisman, I think they had a couple of blowout wins against us, and we squeaked by them a few times.
Yep. So now Ken Morris says now that Binney has the net, he wants to keep it 100%. That's why I am a big fan of Binnington. I think he's a competitor. Ken Morris adds, our power play has to continue with its success. It's going to be a long series, 6 or 7 games. And there's some talk, which we can get to later if you want. But as far as my prediction goes, I'll go first. I'm going to go Avalanche in 6. And I hate saying that because I really think the Blues are going to put up a very good fight. And I would not be shocked at all to see this go 7 games. In fact, I would welcome it. I would love a game 7 between these two teams.
I think if you ask any Blues fan, will you take a game 7? Yes.
Oh, dude.
Sure.
Well, I mean, yes. I don't even mean that as a fan. I just mean as a fan of hockey. I think that would be it would be a really good series to watch. So yeah, I'm going to go Avs in 6. I do think the Avalanche's top line just there's just not an answer from the Blues. I could see them having a series like Kaprizov had, but when you got 3 of the guys doing that and not just one, that's just too overwhelming. I hope the Blues offense can find a way to sneak some big timely goals past Kemper, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the Blues take it in 6, but got to go Avs in 6. Just too much stacked against the Blues right now.
Bill?
I'm going to go Blues in 7. Since Ponder took the pressure off going with the Avs. Somebody has to go with the Avs, so I'm going Blues in 7.
I love it.
I think again, especially if they can get a split early, Colorado's gonna know that they're in for a long series. And, split both cities to start and then just play it out. I think it goes 7.
I think the Blues can win this series if they play as well as they're capable, and the defense steps up to for the challenge. But I think the margin of error for the Blues is just too small. I feel like they have to play a perfect series to win it. I mean, anything can happen, I know, and it wouldn't be the biggest upset, like I mentioned, and it wouldn't surprise me if the Blues win. But I'm going to say Avs in 6, just because I think the Blues too many things have to fall in place and have to go in the Blues' favor for them to win it. I hope it does happen. I hope to God it happens. I want to fucking beat Kroenke. I don't want to lose to the Avs again, for the 3rd time in franchise history. I'd love for the Blues to beat them, but I'm going to go Avs in 6. My brain talking. My heart says Blues in 7. I'd love to see that, but I'm going to go Avs in 6.
So let me ask you guys this question. Let's just say the Blues do pull this out. They win 4, 5, 6, 7 games. Doesn't matter what the number is. Let's take Boston Stanley Cup final out of the equation here. Where does this rank in terms of series wins? To me, this might be number 1 because of all the other factors. The fact they were swept last year. Kroenke owns the Avalanche. To me, I would have to see it to say that for sure. But to me, looking now, it might be number 1 outside of the Stanley Cup final win.
I'll tell you what beats it. When the Blues swept the Hawks, and when the Hawks finished they're the best record in the NHL, they're the best record in the NHL.
And the Blues swept them.
Blues made the playoffs on the last day of the season. It was essentially a 1 versus 8 seed, and the Blues swept them in the first round. And I think that would be to me. I mean, that they were essentially that was before the President's Trophy. The Hawks won the President's Trophy, and the Blues were the lowest seeded team in the playoffs. But the Hawks and the Blues play each other, and the Blues swept them. I think that's the biggest one for me.
I think the Blues over the Hawks in 16 was. I don't think this ranks higher than that. I think that was the game that gave the franchise the confidence to go forward and win the cup in 19. So
you went post effect of the series.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I like it.
Okay. Next game for the Blues is against Colorado, game 1. It's on Tuesday night, 8:30 Central Time. Is it on TNT or
TNT.
ESPN?
It's on TNT.
Yep. TNT, fellas. Quickly, rapid fire tidbits from the NHL. Toronto loses out from the first round for the fifth straight season, right? Fifth straight season out in the first round. Thoughts?
Blow it up. Blow
Really?
it up. Blow it up.
No,
Kurt,
As a Montreal Canadiens fan, blow it up.
Kurt, I saw your comments on Twitter. I have to disagree with you. I agree to a certain extent that this was a hard-fought series. You lost to the defending champ. I get that, but it doesn't change the narrative. They cannot get out of the first round. To be the best, you have to beat the best.
Yeah,
and they can't beat anyone.
Okay. They have a great team. Okay, they played a great series. They were beaten by a great team. I don't think this year mimics past failures. I think this one should be graded in a vacuum. I don't think you blow up this team. I think you tweak it, you make a change or something, a change or two, and you come back. You don't keep it you can't keep a team exactly the same. It's almost impossible. But you don't make any major changes. I
think you make one or two major changes.
You
move a Nylander or you move a Marner or something.
Here's where I stand on it. Okay, so we've talked about how in the playoffs you have to have a really, really good team to win the cup or advance in the playoffs, and you have to get good goaltending, great goaltending, and you have to be lucky. How do you trade for luck? How do you do that? Because I think
you have
Toronto
to be good to be lucky.
Not always. I mean, sure.
Disagree.
You can't. But the phrase "making your own luck" applies sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't. I'm not saying the phrase is wrong. You make your own luck. You don't have to be good to be lucky either. But I think this team is very, very good. I think this team could easily make its own luck. It just didn't happen. I think next year if they go in the playoffs with about this same roster with a couple little tweaks, come back at it, I think they could easily make a run. Would anybody be surprised if they did? I wouldn't.
And to be clear, I think there's some confusion in the YouTube chat. We're talking about the Leafs and not the Blues. This is not. We're not saying blow up the Blues.
No.
Don't mistake that, please.
No.
Please don't mistake that.
Yeah, Darren Greisen there is giving a shit. I think.
We went rapid fire tidbits from the NHL. This is Toronto and Tampa Bay. We're talking about Toronto losing.
No, I just, and maybe that's where we differ, Kurt, is just because I don't believe that bad teams can really truly get good luck. I think luck comes with being good, and I just don't see Toronto getting that luck because they're not good enough to win in the playoffs. So. Again, I agree with you. I don't think you blow anything up. I think Jack Campbell proved he can be a number one goalie for Toronto. Austin Matthews is a supreme talent. Morgan Riley's more than good on your back end. But I think if you can move a Tavares contract or if you can move a Nylander, whatever you can do, I think you need to make one or two pretty blockbuster trades just to shake up the roster and see what else you can get from someone else joining this team, because right now that it's not working. It's not it.
But you say it's not working, but this series is completely different than the way they played in previous years. They played a very good series. They played great.
But they still lost.
They ran into the two-time defending Cup champion.
I don't care.
It's not Tampa Bay against Columbus. They lost to
care.
And to blow it but next year their seeding could be a much. They were the victims of a really shitty draw in the first round.
I don't
was
care.
a terrible draw for them.
I think this
Yeah.
is just
You're
this is
gonna-
excuse.
if
This
you-
is excuse after
No.
excuse.
No, it's a reason. No, it doesn't. I'm
No, it's an
just telling you the
excuse.
way it is. Would it surprise you next year if they don't blow this team up and they go on a run and go to the conference final?
Yes, because they won't.
Yeah. I think well, I'll start by saying the tweak approach that I've heard is Willie Nylander for an actual defenseman, and that could fix a lot of the issues. John Tavares looks like Joe Thornton at this point with how slow he is, but probably not as effective in with the emotional leadership of the team. I mean, yeah, he had a pretty big goal in that series, but they still lost. I think it would probably take, I joke about blowing the whole thing up because I'm a Canadiens fan, but I think it would take moving both of those contracts. I think you move, Nylander, you're moving talent. Tavares, you're moving a contract. I think those two things would have to happen, and that they get themselves some cap relief, and not necessarily spend to the cap again before seeing what they've got with the
and I'm not even saying
the
there's
chemistry going forward.
Well,
I'm not even saying there's a hole on.
My issue with the whole thing is that people say that this is 5 years in a row. This is a different team. This is a much better team than Toronto's had in the past. It's different. You have to judge this season in a vacuum. I don't think lumping it all together in the past 5 years, because if you go back 5 years, it's a different team.
The core is still there.
But I understand. But to me, it's like I said, I spelled this out on Twitter, and I'll stand by it. I think the team just needs a bounce, and they're not getting it. They're so close, and tweaking and changing, bringing in players in and out. You're not guaranteeing anything. That could make the team worse.
But you know what they're lacking? What they're lacking right now is exactly what Doug Armstrong used to say the Blues are lacking is, what is it? Stick the needle in the eye and twist it?
The knife, right? Stick the knife in the eye and twist it and kill
They had a 3-2 series lead again and could not pull it out.
You know what? You know why the Blues won the Cup? There's a bunch of situations, a bunch of scenarios in 19 you could pick. That's a defining moment. That's a defining moment. Ben not getting the wraparound. That's a defining moment.
Cogliano fumbling the loose puck.
Cogliano missing 3/4 of an open net. That's luck. It's luck. It's luck.
Just as much as you say that, there are times you can point to in Game 7 against Dallas.
The Blues didn't create that luck. That was a luck. He whiffed it. They didn't do anything to create that situation where he missed it. He just missed it. He did.
Yeah. But you know what? There's also situations you can point to in that exact game where they should have scored a goal, but the Blues made a great defensive play, or Bennington came up big.
But that particular situation, the Blues didn't create that luck. That was
But that happens every game.
I know. That's why I said there's so many of them. And
you need ebbs and flows of the game.
I know, but you need this luck. You got to be really good. I'm not taking anything away from the talent on the Blues had on the team. They were a great team. They were inspired. They were playing inspired hockey, but you still need to be lucky. And you're not going to win without having luck. And Cogliano missed that open net. That was not anything the Blues did to create that missed chance. He wasn't touched, and he missed it.
But that happens every game in 90. You play 95 to 100 games a year. That's going to happen 95 times. It's just happened to be that was a big moment in the Blues' cup run.
In overtime, it wasn't during the game where you could make up. It wasn't during the game where you could we missed an open net or they missed an open net. Things can change in the rest of the game to make up for whatever this and that. In overtime, in Game 7, he missed it. That would have ended the series and the Blues run like that.
But that same exact play happens in Game 1, we're not even remembering it right now.
This is Game 7.
That's part of the game. It happens
all the time.
But
you missed that open net in Game 1, or he hits the open net in game one. It was a mistake in game one, whatever. You get lucky in game one. Things can change the rest of the way in game one to, correct that luck or get alternative luck. I can't think of the word.
We're
But
not
alternative luck.
If you have luck, take luck.
What I'm saying is,
care for it.
Overtime game 7, that Cogliano should have scored. He should have scored there. And it was just dumb luck for the Blues concern. It was a bouncing puck, right? It was on edge, but he just missed it and he hit the outside of the net. And and that would have ended the series. You couldn't have. That was a defining moment. You can't compare a game 7 overtime moment like that to a moment in game 1 in the second period. That's not comparable at all.
But I'm just saying but it happens. It happens no matter what the clock says. It's part of the game. But that would have ended the
series. That would have kicked the Blues out of the playoffs. A game 1 situation wouldn't have been as defining. You can recover from that.
But I'm just saying, you play 200 minutes of hockey. That could happen 3 times. It doesn't matter if it all happened all at once, boom, 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 or if it was minute 1, minute 100, and minute 200.
Minute 1 doesn't end the season. That moment would have ended the season.
See, to me, that doesn't mean anything with the flows of the game. That means nothing to me.
I'm all about ebbs and flows. I get ebbs and flows. I invented ebbs and flows. I'm just saying. I'm just saying that moment, you can't compare that moment to another moment that would not have ended the series. Completely different importance on both moments. Not the same.
To me, the flows of the game, we're not going to agree here. It's clear. No, we're just not going to agree. Bill's rubbing his eyes. I think we're making Bill tired.
I'm with you, fellers.
All right, we'll agree to disagree.
But I will say, Kurt, let me just ask you this, because we are running long here on this part of the show. What do you do if, in your opinion, what do you do if you're Toronto?
I haven't looked at whose contracts are expiring to see. I wouldn't want to rock the boat with that roster. I'll say that. I'll be generic. I wouldn't want to rock the boat. I wouldn't do anything major unless you can bring in something major, which they probably would if they move something major, but like a Tavares or whatever. But I would not want to make a major change to that roster. I'd want to keep the major pieces intact. I guess there's something to be said in my mind too. It's like, well, they gave this particular team one shot in the playoffs. They didn't get it done. Make changes. Well, I'm saying what's wrong with 2 chances? Give them another shot. Second chances.
So
right?
If they made, let's just say, one blockbuster move, let's just say they move Tavares, but they bring in somebody, it's not like a rebuilding move. It's just like a lateral type move.
They might.
Would that shock you?
It wouldn't shock me. It's just not what, as a Toronto fan, I would. They should love this team. I mean, talent wise, they should love what they have the potential to do, and what they did this regular season. And they just didn't. And they just ran into a Lightning team. They could have faced that team as a different seed in the conference final. They could have won against a number of teams in the playoffs. Didn't happen that way. That wasn't in the cards. It wouldn't surprise me if they made that move. But like I said, I wouldn't. As a fan, I'd be scared that they would be making changes and it would screw stuff up. So, not that they, and to side with you a little bit, they didn't really get anything done in the playoffs. But true. I'd like to have a second chance. This team. I feel bad for Maple Leafs fans. I'm laughing at the situation because I think it's funny, but I really do feel bad for good Maple Leafs fans who we're Blues fans. We went through this kind of shit. It was just like, we're really good teams, never went anywhere. And it sucks, man. It's painful. And I feel for them.
Yep. No, so like I said, I was at that all-day hockey tournament. And so I had caught the very end of the Carolina-Boston game, which went the way I wanted it to. I think all St. Louis, pretty much anyone outside of Boston was happy to see that final. But I came upstairs later and I asked the guys like, hey, who won the Toronto the Toronto Tampa game, and then like 3 guys just started laughing, and they're like, "Who do you think?" And I'm like, "Oh no!" I was like, I started laughing too. I'm like, "That's what I picked. I picked
Yeah.
Tampa. I figured Tampa would win," but I'm like, at the same time, like, God, man, Maple Leafs fans are just never gonna catch a break.
Did you the watch a game with Steve Dangle on
Oh yeah.
Sportsnet and YouTube?
Mhm.
You can watch a little window of him, his face, and you can watch the stream him streams of the game. You can watch with him. And I went back and I watched it. Well, the last like I don't know 5-6 minutes of the period, and he's like this inspirational speech to people. The who's gonna be the hero? Who's gonna do it? He's just and it just didn't happen, and the disappointment in his face was like, man, I just
You
feel
feel
so.
for the guy, man. He's such a good Leafs fan.
It's so funny.
Yeah,
Okay, anyway.
If there's one guy, right, in Leafs Nation that you have to feel for, it's Dangle.
What about Dart
He's-
Guy?
He was 15 seconds of fame.
Yeah.
So Edmonton's playing Calgary, the battle for Alberta. Looking forward to the series. I think we all are. Yes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Who wins?
Yeah. Calgary.
I gotta
think
go
so, too.
Calgary.
Yeah, me too.
I didn't think I mean I picked Edmonton to make it out of the first round, but it would not have shocked me at all had Dallas won that in even 4 games. So
You
yeah,
mean LA.
I'm
LA.
sorry. LA, yeah.
Dallas and
LA.
Calgary.
LA.
No, it would not have shocked me at all. So yeah, actually no, I'm sorry, I take that back. I did pick LA. But yeah, I think Calgary, I don't want to say they take it easily. I could see this going 5-6 games, but I think Calgary definitely shows their depth over Edmonton.
Brandon Toma asked a good question in the YouTube chat. What's worse for the Leafs fans, losing in the first round or in the final? Because you would instantly think, oh, it's worse to lose in the first round, but I don't know. Leafs fans are almost accustomed to it now. It's like, oh, here we go again. If they lose in the final, and I guess depending on how they lose, would it be a Vancouver situation where they would just kind of riot?
I thought about this with the Blues in 2019 when it was happening. I thought, man, like going into Game 7, I thought, man, would have just been better had they have just gotten swept by Winnipeg in the first round.
Have that carrot dangle so close to your face and taken away. Oh my God.
Yeah, but then I thought, I'm like, there was so many awesome moments that we got to witness in this playoff run. And I thought, as much as it would hurt and suck to just watch the Blues lose and then, Boston shaking hands and what's the dejected look of the Blues on, just as bad as that is, being able to actually make that run, because we've never seen that before, at least in our lifetimes. I think at the end of the day, I said the end of the day, let's say the end of the year, the end of 2019, I think I would have looked back at it and said, you know what, we had some pretty awesome moments. The Maroon overtime goal, Schwartz hat trick, all that stuff. Like, at least we had some really cool moments. We finally saw them win a Stanley Cup final playoff game. I mean, that kind of thing would have been great.
That kind of mentality, I think, goes back to the Blues never having won before, but having all these amazing playoff memories, the years they lost eventually. People say, oh, it must have sucked, never won a cup, for so many years. I'm like, yeah, it did. But I mean, there were some memories in the playoffs. I was like, oh my God, this is fantastic. I mean, as a kid growing, I loved, I mean, it was, I don't know. I wouldn't want those to go away. Just, I mean, I don't know. I was, I guess because never having won a cup, and you hold on to those the best memories you got, which most of them are playoff memories. Didn't seem like the worst thing.
I saw one of those or questions the other day, and it actually did make me think, as someone who's actually seen his team win the cup. It was see your team win the Stanley Cup once, but then never make the playoffs again, or make the playoffs every year and never win the Stanley Cup. And I thought, I mean, I guess if the question is, going in, to me, the answer would probably be to see the Stanley Cup. But to not know, I think I'd choose to, rather see him make it every year, because at least you've got that hope of one of these times it's going to happen. So it's a hard question to answer.
And win or lose, I mean, you may win some rounds, right? So you may win some overtime game 7s and have like just crazy euphoria.
Yep.
For, I don't know. That's a tough question.
Yep.
Anything else? We'll wrap the show up.
Pete DeBoer fired. You guys shocked?
No, not with all the turnover that happens in Vegas. Not shocked whatsoever.
DeBoer should have been higher than the first place.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
They should never
been let go.
Right. Yep. And look what he just did with the Rangers.
Yeah. That's twice that guy has just been fucked over by an organization. I don't get it.
Yep.
I don't understand that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Pete DeBoer, I can't believe he got another coaching job, yet alone a Stanley Cup favorite. I'll be shocked again, because it seems like there's like 40 guys the NHL teams love to cycle through for head coaching jobs. He'll be hired again this summer, and it's going to shock me again. Just because I don't think he's a good coach.
Yeah, no, he's great in year 1 because he gets players to think differently, but then they're, after year 2, they're like, oh, he's stupid, and tune him out. It's just seems to be how it works.
Kind of a bitch too. Kind of a crybaby.
Oh, well, after the hand pass game?
Well, not just that. There's been multiple times where he bitches in pressers after games, and it's just like, dude, you're the head coach. Shut the hell up and answer the questions and get out of there,
It was a nice contrast in that San Jose series in 19 to see how Berube and DeBoer handled situations. DeBoer was more of a complainer, and Berube, after the hand pass game, was like, well, we're moving on, not talking about it, pretty much. And they didn't, and they just got it done on the ice. Yep. So
didn't lose. The San Jose Sharks have not won a playoff game since then.
They're cursed. They're cursed. Mm-hmm. The hockey gods have spoken.
That's right. Oh, we're not playing handball out there. Asshole.
What that means.
God, I want to punch him in the face too. Line him and Philip Grubauer up, and let me punch them both in the face.
Good timing. Your mom just showed up and said, "Hi, guys."
Oh,
hey.
Hi, Mom.
Hello, as you're talking about punching guys in faces.
Well, I could be talking about something a lot worse if I wanted to.
True.
All right, we'll wrap it up. Sound good?
Of course.
All right.
Do it.
Support for Let's Go Blues Radio is brought to you in part by ID Life, the world's only truly personalized vitamin platform based on a health assessment of your DNA. Visit rockinthatidlife.com for more information. That's rockinthatidlife.com. And to get 10% off by emailing Dustin at rockinthatidlife@gmail.com and tell him Let's Go Blues Radio sent you. And by Center Ice Brewery, St. Louis's tasty hockey-themed beer. Please check out your local beer vendors for availability. That's Center Ice Brewery beer. Please drink responsibly. That will wrap up episode 38 of season 10 of the original St. Louis Blues Hockey Podcast, Let's Go Blues Radio. Thanks for listening, and thanks to those who participated in the YouTube and Facebook live chats during the live show. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you. For Jeff Ponder and Bill Day, I'm Kurt Price. Until next time, everyone, be cronky. Let's go Blues.
Let's go Blues.
Jesus Christ, Bill. Let's go Blues. Fuck the Avalanche.
The Chiefs are at home tonight against Cyanosport at the War Memorial at 8. Good seats are still available.
A look at sport.
I think that went very well.
Thank you for listening to Let's Go Blues Radio. Now take off, hosers.
I want you to have a heart attack and die so that we never have to do this shit again.
Well, there's 90 minutes of your life you'll never get back. Sorry.
St. Louis Blues, St. Louis Blues. Have you heard the news about our St. Louis Blues? They've only just begun, they're on their way to number one. Now there's no more blues for our St. Louis Blues. The Blues are on the ice tonight again. They're rough and tough and got the stuff to win. They'll always get one more, no matter what the score. They are quite a hockey